let's look at nursery stock. If you look at this tree, right? Xavier, what's it worth? Or what do they charge?
Okay. They've got the nice fine price of £20. And a Greenwood's bonsai, that's a pretty good deal, to be fair.
Right, and you say 25 quid. Now I'm grabbing a black pine. So this would also be 25 quid, right? That's same sort of tree, same sort of size. Now what does it say?
95 pounds.
So who knows why this is 95 and this is 20?
What would you say to someone who's looking at sort of, say, substandard material or learner material? What do they really need to look at? What's your tip for breakfast?
Well, a few things. Bonsai is not about rescuing plants. So if you are struggling to keep your own plants healthy, don't go to the section where they're discounting the trees because they don't look all that great. But if you do know your trees, you do know how to keep them happy, that is typically where I go. I go and look at trees like the ones here, for instance. These are discounted because they're not very happy. They may have some sun damage, some heat damage. And if you look at something like this may be discounted in price because it doesn't have a lot of foliage. And the foliage that's there is coarse. But look at that trunk line. A trunk like this is what you're actually paying for. This is what takes time. Developing the foliage mass, that's easy. That is a good growing season and you got foliage again. So also this one here, this field maple, looks completely bare. But I checked, look, there's little growth here on these branches. If there would have been growth here, well, there's actually a little bit of growth there and there and there. This tree, if you take it home, next year it will start regrowing. And you've got a very nice, interesting trunk with all dead wood. That's not for everybody, but if you like it. It has movement, it has refined branches. This is actually a really, really interesting tree. So if you get this as a 50% discount now, hey, you wait a year and you've got a good tree. Under the assumption that you know how to take care of the trees and can get this back to health. But in general, not a rescue mission if you don't know how to take care of trees. But if you do, that's what I go. Always for the trunk line and the root.
That has got to be one of the best tips I've heard. And even though I haven't fed you any breakfast yet, it is important because I'm the first person who's come to what we consider as the bargain or the discount display in the hope I'll get an instant bonsai tree that I can turn into a masterpiece. And in the end, I normally turn it into a tip piece. But no, that's really, really good to know. Thank you very much for that. Oh.
Do you have an elm already?
Do I have an elm?
Look at this trunk, the age on that bark. You turn this back drastically to the trunk and the main branches, stubs of 4 inches, 10 centimeters, and you've got a really, really great tree to start off with.
I mean, I know you do loads of really good sort of videos on starting your trees off, and I mean, I must be honest, I see this and my eyes just light up because I see so many possibilities. But I'll tell you one thing, and you probably know that having been around my garden, is I would probably struggle to know what to do with all these, what for me, lovely branches, but so many choices that I'd actually get stuck in almost, well, just, you know, when you get that brain freeze and you think, and you end up doing nothing apart from letting it continue to grow because you almost feel spoilt for choice. Where would I go? Where should I go? Or one of the options anyway.
If you look at a tree like this, where's the value in the tree? What is the thing that makes this special?
I mean, I like the movement and the central trunk, and there's some taper with it.
Well, basically, you've got a big branch here that's almost as thick as the trunk, right? So it's almost like a two-way split. So for me, this would go. This is too big. Then these branches are way too long. So my first thing that I would do, I'd cut these off short. I'd cut all of these off short so that all this foliage mass is gone. Because the tree is really in this area. Everything else is just growth. It has helped build this trunk line. But besides that, it doesn't aid you in a good bonsai. So when you start one off, just look at the trunk. Look at the base. All the branches can regrow, especially with a Chinese elm like this one.
As a beginner, it's so confusing. It really is. I can see that central line, but I can also see myself being just frozen, unable to do anything because, you know, I'll be thinking, oh, maybe I'll put this up on an angle and I'll have both trunks going.
Look, if you say, I like the angle, you can still put it like this and say, this is my trunk line. But these two will always compete. Yeah. And then for me, this has movement, it has old bark, and this is just, well, I'm not going to say stovepipe, but it is a stovepipe.
Yeah.
But as a tree, for me, anything beyond this part is useless. So I just start off with pruning the whole thing back to a profile and then looking at which branches am I going to keep. So here you also have two branches that are competing. And I'd probably remove this bigger one and say this little thing here in the back, that is what I'm working with.
So again, you keep hammering home, it's about recognizing that primary structure, that central line, and sticking with it, and then growing your tree from the bit that attracts you most.
Yeah.
Okay.
So now if you look at these white pines here, don't be too worried if needles start yellowing. Once a year they drop off all these old needles and then you get this nice smattering of color. Of course, if the whole crown goes yellow, that's not a great idea. But look at how nice and small these needles are. It's age, but it's also the variety. So some of these Japanese pines, these white pines get short needles, and sometimes they get very, very long needles. So just compare these needles between this one and that one, just the needle size. That is not just the care, because they get similar care, they're both good bonsai. These are just much longer than that, just a different variety. It's actually fall already here, gorgeous colors. Right, so let's look at nursery stock. If you look at this tree, right, Xavier, what's it worth? Or what do they charge?
Okay, they've got the nice fine price of £20, and a Greenwood's bonsai, that's a pretty good deal, to be fair.
Right, and you say 25 quid. Now I'm grabbing a black pine, so this would also be 25 quid, right? That's same sort of tree, same sort of size. Now what does it say?
95 pounds.
So who knows why this is 95 and this is 20?
Right, yeah.
Right then, fellas. Hope you're doing some weeding while you're here.
We've been doing lots of. If you want to come out.
And the big difference is not just the species. This is a Chinese elm. This is a Japanese black pine. But if you look at the tree, this tree, of course, was just grown as a stick. It is planted in a pot and they've chopped the top. Just there. And it has grown a few nice trees and you can make a nice little formal upright tree out of this. But that's pretty much all it is. All the work that was done. It was grown in a field, chopped down, put in a pot and put for sale. There's not a lot of work involved in creating this. So 20 quid is fair.
Is that always going to be a broom, basically?
Yeah, probably. This one, however, if you look at it, you might say, well, for $100, I'd get the elm. But it's a Japanese black pine. If you look at the branches, look, there's a branch here on the outside of a curve. There's a short branch here, and there's also one in the back a little bit further up. Then you go around the bend, there's a short branch here, and a top with a tiny little whip. This is actually nice and curved. The curves are not symmetrical, they all have a little different shape, and the distances between the intersections are not the same. So for me, this is a much better tree.
So it's important, especially when you're beginning, and then perhaps I should have done that, is to actually look, have I got a primary structure to build from, and that's what I'm buying when I'm looking at.
So you're buying a couple of things, right? You buy the good Nebari. Well, you can't see the Nebari on this one. I don't think it's going to be all that great, to be honest. It is just also a mass-produced tree. You look at, did they do anything to the trunk? And does it look completely unnatural or just, okay, could be something? Yeah. And what do I need to do to start forming a bonsai? Here, these side branches are all in place. You can start forming this today. You can put it in a little pot, and in 3 to 5 years you have a nice little bonsai sitting there. That will not develop very quickly. This will develop very quickly. So that is really what you are buying. You're buying the time to put in the shape, to make sure you have short branches on the right places, and prepare it for life as a bonsai.
But if I wanted to be part of that journey, I mean, some people say it'd be easy for me. Yeah, if you've got some money, you can buy that, and then half the job's done for you. But I mean, how much time would I have to invest to actually, I don't know, to take a sapling or whatever and create that primary structure first? How much more is my journey time? Rather than 5 years, what do you think I'd be looking at?
This tree, I would easily give maybe 10 years old.
So knowing that is probably important. Certainly if I'd known that, it might have swayed some of my decisions when I was buying what I thought was good material.
If I now give you a seedling and I tell you, I'll buy it off you in 10 years time for 100 quid if you develop it into this, what would you say?
No.
So think about that when you're buying stock, that it looks like, that's a hefty price tag, but somebody has spent 10 years growing this out into this stock so that you can develop the fun part. the canopy, the branches. Growing the trunk,
The easy bit.
you can grow stuff from seed or from cutting, and you enjoy that, and I
Yeah.
enjoy it. But that is the hard part in bonsai. Once that is in place, building the canopy around it is basically just doing the work.
Which I suppose is why it's important when you have got stuff to begin with. You spend the time in actually thinking about that primary structure.
These first few years are important.
Because there's no doubt. And I mean it in a positive way. I've wasted a lot of stuff that I've done.
So this is more like the normal young stuff that you get, right? You just don't have anything done. It's a seedling. It's 2-3 years old. They clip the top once, and that's it. But then that's also what you pay for, right? It's £3.50.
Yeah.
So it really depends on how much work has been put in, and keep in mind, just size isn't everything. It is also the quality.
But I started my bonsai journey back in 2001 with 20 like that.
Yeah.
And you've seen some of the ones that are in my garden. It's
Actually,
24
no,
years
you
later.
got to show me when we get back what larches you have and what
Got
you
me.
plan to do with that.
That's good, very good question, because some of them I don't actually know. But my old man larch started off like that, and I didn't need any skills to do that.
Let's go. Let's go and let's take a look at those.
Jelle, what's that you've got in your hand at the moment?
I can only see one there.
No, seriously,
I don't know if you know, but there are some potters that are just famous, and this is John Pitt pot.
right.
That's a pit pot. And just look at that.
Oh, will you stop filming?
You don't tell the world what I spend on pots. Come on.
I'm not going to tell them what you spent on it. You've got to buy me lunch yet.